You told a lie today. Maybe you don't even remember it. Maybe it was small. I'm fine when you weren't. I love it about a gift you didn't. Sorry, running late when you hadn't even left the house yet. We lie constantly. Most of us tell several small lies a day without even registering them as lies anymore. It feels automatic, almost invisible, like breathing. But somewhere, tens of thousands of years ago, a human being told a lie for the very first time. And that moment, small and forgettable as it must have seemed, may have required one of the most sophisticated cognitive leaps our species ever made. This isn't a video about morality. It's not about whether lying is good or bad. It's about something stranger. The theory that lying might be one of the clearest signs of advanced intelligence our ancestors ever developed, and that the ability to deceive another mind may have helped build the human mind itself. To understand why a lie is such a big cognitive deal, you have to understand something called theory of mind. Theory of mind is the ability to recognize that other people have their own separate thoughts, beliefs, and knowledge, and, critically, that those beliefs can be different from yours, and even wrong. It sounds simple. It isn't. The concept was first named in a landmark 1978 paper by researchers David Premack and Guy Woodruff, who asked a deceptively simple question. Does a chimpanzee understand that another individual can hold a belief? Here's why this matters for lying specifically. To successfully deceive someone, you can't just hide information. You have to model what's happening inside another creature's head. You have to predict what they currently believe, understand what they don't know, and then deliberately feed them false information designed to make them believe something untrue, all while tracking the real truth privately in your own mind at the same time. That is an enormous amount of simultaneous mental work. Researchers studying self-deception, including psychologist William von Hippel, have pointed out that maintaining a lie requires the brain to juggle two separate versions of reality at once, the truth and the fiction you're presenting, without letting them collide. It's cognitively expensive. Which raises the question, if lying is this hard, why would evolution ever bother building the hardware for it? To find the answer, scientists didn't start with humans. They started with our closest living relatives. In a series of experiments, researchers tested chimpanzees competing with a human for food. Time and time again, when a contested piece of food was visible, the chimpanzees chose to approach it using a hidden, indirect route, specifically the path the human competitor couldn't see, sometimes taking a longer, more roundabout way just to stay out of view. From their very first attempts, without training, they were making a calculated choice based on what another individual could and couldn't see. This matters because for decades, most researchers assumed that intentional deception, the deliberate manipulation of another mind's beliefs, was something only humans could do. Studies like this chipped away at that assumption, suggesting chimpanzees may have at least a partial, functional grasp of what another individual knows or doesn't know. This idea that social complexity itself might be what pushed primate brains to get bigger and sharper has a name in evolutionary anthropology, the Machiavellian intelligence hypothesis, developed by researchers Richard Byrne and Andrew Whiten at the University of St. Andrews. Their argument, built on decades of primate observation, was blunt. Living in large, complex social groups, where you have to track alliances, rivalries, favors, and betrayals, may have been a bigger driver of primate intelligence than solving physical problems like finding food or using tools. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar took this further with what's now called the social brain hypothesis, the idea that the size of a primate's social group directly predicts the size of its brain, because tracking that many relationships and all the shifting trust and deception within them is an immense cognitive load. In other words, it's possible our ancestors didn't get smart and then start lying. They may have started lying, or at least strategically concealing things from each other, and that pressure helped make them smart. Here's the honest, slightly frustrating truth. There's no fossilized lie. You can't carbon date a false statement. Unlike a bone needle or a mammoth bone hut, deception leaves no direct physical trace in the archaeological record. So instead, researchers approach this from a different angle entirely. Not digging in the ground, but studying how deception emerges in humans today, starting from infancy, on the theory that child development can sometimes echo the cognitive steps our species took over evolutionary time. And what they found is genuinely surprising. Psychologist Kang Lee at the University of Toronto, working with researcher Angela Evans at Brock University, ran a series of now widely cited experiments testing when children first start lying. Their method was simple. Place a child alone in a room with a toy. Tell them not to peek while the experimenter steps out. Then ask them afterward if they looked. The results: about 25% of 2-year-olds lied about peeking. That number jumped to roughly 50% of 3-year-olds. By age 4, it climbed to around 80%. The researchers found something else too, and this is the part that should stop you. The children who lied weren't the bad ones. They were on average the more cognitively advanced ones. Lying was correlated with stronger executive function and a more developed theory of mind. The same mental tools linked to complex thinking, planning, and self-control. Learning to lie wasn't a moral failure. It was a developmental milestone, arriving right alongside walking and talking. If a 2 to 4-year-old brain needs this level of sophistication just to pull off a simple lie about peeking at a toy, it tells you something about how late and how hard won this ability was in our evolutionary history. This wasn't some easy trick early humans stumbled into. It was likely one of the more advanced cognitive tools our species ever built.
Now picture this playing out in a small ancient hunting band of 20 or 30 people, all dependent on each other for survival. In that world, information is power. Knowing where the best foraging patch is, who has surplus meat stored, who's weak and vulnerable, who's planning to leave the group, all of it matters enormously. And once you're capable of understanding that other people don't automatically know what you know, an entirely new toolkit opens up. You can withhold information, you can mislead a rival about where you found food, you can fake an injury to avoid a dangerous hunt, you can pretend loyalty you don't feel, to buy yourself protection within the group. None of this required malice in the way we think of lying today. It required strategy, and in a small group survival environment, an individual who could outthink and occasionally outdeceive their rivals had a real edge. More resources, more alliances, more chances to pass on their genes. This is the darker flip side of everything we usually cover about ancient cooperation, sharing, and trust. Deception and cooperation aren't opposites. They evolved together, locked in a kind of arms race. Because here's the thing. If deception gives an individual an advantage, then the ability to detect deception becomes just as valuable. A group full of easily fooled members would have been an easy target for exploitation from within. So alongside the evolution of lying, researchers argue, came the evolution of suspicion, gossip, reputation tracking, and social punishment for liars who got caught. This is part of what some evolutionary psychologists believe helped drive the growth of complex human language itself. Not just cooperative communication, but the need to track who could be trusted, who had lied before, and who deserved a damaged reputation. Gossip, in this light, isn't a trivial modern habit. It may be an ancient survival tool for managing exactly this problem. So the picture that emerges isn't that humans learned to lie, and that was bad. It's closer to this. Humans developed the capacity to model other minds, which made cooperation possible, sharing food, forming alliances, planning hunts together, and that same exact mental machinery, almost as a side effect, made lying possible too. You cannot build a mind capable of deep trust and cooperation without simultaneously building a mind capable of betrayal. They come from the same cognitive root. There's one more piece of this that rarely gets talked about, and it might be the strangest part of the whole story. Some researchers believe humans didn't just get good at lying to others. We got good at lying to ourselves. The theory of self-deception suggests that the most effective liars are the ones who genuinely believe their own fiction. If you can convince yourself that a falsehood is true, you no longer have to consciously manage two separate versions of reality at once. Your face doesn't leak the tension of hiding something, because as far as your own mind is concerned, there's nothing left to hide. Von Hippel's research suggests this may be why humans are so remarkably good at rationalizing their own bad behavior, convincing themselves they deserve that extra portion of food, or that leaving a weaker group member behind was truly unavoidable. Self-deception isn't weakness. In evolutionary terms, it may have been the ultimate upgrade, a lie so good even the liar can't detect it. It's worth pausing on how strange this makes our own species. Most predators rely on speed, strength, or camouflage. Humans, comparatively slow and weak, without claws or venom or natural armor, may have relied on something far stranger to survive and climb to the top of the food chain. A mind sophisticated enough to model other minds, cooperate with them, manipulate them when necessary, and detect when someone else was trying to do the same. Intelligence in this light wasn't just about solving physical puzzles like cracking open a nut or tracking migrating prey. It was a social weapon, sharpened over hundreds of thousands of years inside the tense, competitive, deeply interdependent world of small human bands trying to survive together. So think again about that lie you told today. I'm fine, I love it, sorry, running late. It feels small, automatic, almost meaningless, but underneath it is a stack of cognitive machinery that took your species an enormous evolutionary effort to build. The ability to hold someone else's mind in your mind, to understand what they don't know, and to deliberately, precisely shape what they believe. A 2-year-old struggling to pull off a lie about peeking at a toy is in a strange way
walking the same cognitive path your ancestors walked hundreds of thousands of years ago, not toward dishonesty for its own sake, but toward one of the most sophisticated tools the human mind ever developed, the ability to understand that other minds exist at all, and that they can be shaped. Every act of trust you've ever built with another person, and every small lie you've ever told, comes from the exact same evolutionary root. We didn't just become smart enough to cooperate. We became smart enough to deceive, and somehow, both of those things made us who we are.